Welcome, everybody. This is Abacus Fish, and we are playing Hexcrawl Adventures, Old School Essentials via Roll20. I'm joined by two players. We have Joe
Heyo.
and Seth.
Hey.
Today, we're just going to kind of go over all the Hexcrawl adventures, the previous 11 episodes, and I can't think of better players to have for this than the people who've been here for most of these games. Stickbeard and Goldie and Therum. So why they're here in the first place, there was this ice age in which the vagabonds of the North Shore, unable to sow and harvest from their land anymore, were forced to come to this strange new continent where most of the refugees from Atoll Grove actually died. And Stickbeard and Goldie in the first episode, along with Melina Shieldheart, first off, just to get food. That led to a meeting from the Lord Protectorate, Otis Rivercob, which you guys haven't seen since. You guys went to towns, talked with some people. That led you to investigate a blight tree, in which you didn't defeat all the undead. You defeated some of the undead and then scared off the rest, which then led to more problems the next day when Lady Vargas was pretty mad that you guys had left the undead to just kind of wander the North Shore, which is her domain, and some of them even reached Maurice's reach. You guys, wanting to be on good graces with Lady Vargas, agreed to fight the blight tree and destroy it. On the way there, you met a strange knight that didn't talk, but did have a way of destroying the blight tree, and you were able to burn it down. Then came the fight with the Flaming Fist, which is what put you guys on the map. When you guys fought the Band of the Flaming Fist and won, that was your first start of fame. People started talking about the Vagabonds of the North Shore.
I'm kind of surprised that that's what started it and not, quote unquote, taking care of the undead tree.
Oh, yeah. Well, to that point, the burning of the undead tree, one, it was a small tree kind of on the coast. It was kind of an issue for Maurice's reach, but not necessarily an issue for anyone else. When you did hear about the blight tree, the guy who told you about it, Father Cosmos, also mentioned Nerton. And how no one goes to Nerton anymore because the undead have taken it over. That'll come up later. But the bandits, they were kind of terrorizing the roads. So your average citizen would bump into the bandits of the Flaming Fist far more than they'd bump into the blight tree. Because the blight tree is like, it's kind of like a killer bees hive. You know it's there, and people are just like, yeah, just stay away from it. So people typically didn't go over there. They had no business being up there. But with the bandits of the Flaming Fist, if you were a merchant or anybody with any kind of valuable walking on the roads, they would steal from you. And that's why it was a bigger deal. That's what got you guys up there. But also, that's also where Goldie died during the fight with the Bandit of Flaming Fist. It's also your biggest score. You guys never had to worry about food after that. And that's why the 14th of Germinal is known as Goldie's score among the Vagabonds of the North Shore. It's just kind of one of those ironic things where the one dwarf, she was always talking about hitting it big and always wanting to gamble. And yeah, the gamble paid off. It did. And all it cost was her life.
Goldie's sacrifice was not in vain. She hit it big finally.
Yeah. You know, that big score that she was always bragging about, she finally got, but at what cost? The 15th of Germinal, after that, you guys just kind of stopped. And then 16th and the 17th and 18th, everything just kind of stopped for a while. But then it was on the 19th that two of your residents, Nathan and Ethan Bearwallow, seemed to have made a mess of a woman's bar. And that woman's name is Andis Nimblemead, who was the tavern keeper of Sutton. She, apparently, Nathan and Ethan Bearwallow made a mess of the bar and also started passing all these rumors around Sutton that, by the way, Vagabonds of the North Shore are super loaded with money. And
always good when everyone knows you have treasure.
No, I'm sure that won't be a problem in the future. Also that day, the 19th of Germinal, the goblins were scouting you out. You guys went over there after taking care of Nimblemead's tavern. You found an orc. Later, you would know that this orc's name is Volthig. And you let him live, but he was guarding this door. You guys went through the door, found a bunch of goblins, decided to turn back. The goblins were still scoping you out. So this time, Robert Shieldheart led a party into the goblin cave. You didn't find goblins. What you found instead were ghouls. And you kind of looked around the ruins. It appeared that discovery, that episode, was where the goblins were seated is some kind of underground fortress that was made by the same people who have made all these towers around you. The very tower that you're squatting in right now. The same people built these massive constructs. And they were built so well that huge chunks of them still last. You did fight a little bit of goblins because you checked out some nearby ruins and found that they were stashing some kind of explosive red barrel.
Oh, God, yeah.
But that was your only skirmish with the goblins. So the goblins, by the 21st, were still out there, still scouting you out. And that's when you rescued Vothig from being killed, and Vothig showed you a side entrance into the goblin's lair. And through that side entrance and doing some cave exploration, you found yourself in the middle of their explosives cache, and you blew it up. And then the goblins no longer bothered you. You did hear about this dude, the leader of the goblins, known as Keen Scratch. You have yet to meet him. There was a large explosion in the underground facility, but you don't know how big that explosion was and how big the facility is. So maybe Keen Scratch is dead. Maybe he's still alive. Who knows? But the goblins abandoned their night watch. And then you guys made your objective. With the goblins taken care of, you decided to focus on moving the camp and go northwest to the old ruins, killing a bunch of lizard men in the process. You established the new base, and that's when you saw the smoke on the horizon, Therum. And that has led you to the current story cycle, which is Nerton. You guys led an expedition in there, rescued...
Orintish.
Oh, yeah, that episode, before you guys actually went... You met Orntish when you went to Maurice's Reach, and there were riots.
Oh, yeah.
The Nertons incident has basically stressed trade routes and diminished projected yield of crops. And so now the Farmers Guild has decided to raise the price of grain, which, yeah, you kind of saw the result of that. That was when you guys were wandering around the village, or wandering around the immediate area. This was the episode right before Nerton, because that's currently where you're in now, is the Nerton cycle. But yeah, you did that episode with one of the human series, Locktar series, a druid of sorts. And so now comes the Nerton cycle. You guys go in there, you find Anna Rivercob, who is Otis Rivercob's sister. You rescued her. Well, actually, it wasn't you who rescued her. It was the Strange Knight. You saw the Strange Knight again. And then you guys retreated when you encountered that giant horde of the undead. And then in the last episode, the Friday episode, Robert Shieldheart led a party towards Nerton.
Oh, wow.
And ended up getting pushed back. Couldn't make it past the barricade. That barricade where Therum had lifted. Oh, yeah, by the way, those spiked barriers, I called them barbicans. They're not barbicans. They're called Cheval de Frise.
Oh, some French name, huh?
Yeah. That is what they are called, those little spike barriers that are supposed to basically stall army march formations and cavalry from charging in. Creates natural choke points.
He wasn't able to get past, huh?
Well, you guys were able to just move it out of the way and keep going. When they got there, the Cheval de Frise had been broken, and the army had been advancing into the western half of the Kingdom of Vassith. Basically, it would only be a matter of time before it got to Berry Pont. And so they fought them back and encountered a special skeleton that was calling all the other skeletons. And unlike the other skeletons, which you aren't necessarily sure, but somehow these skeletons are created from the Blight Tree. But this skeleton was created through necromancy and was guiding the other skeletons to break the barrier.
Ooh. They're getting smart.
Well, there is a necromancer. Basically, last episode, they theorized that there is a necromancer or necromancers that are either the necromancers are behind the Blight Tree and these skeletons, or the necromancers are just utilizing the skeletons and making up their own. Can't necessarily be sure because, well, you haven't encountered the necromancers yet. But with the help of Orntish and Colrus, they both basically said, yeah, that's necromancy. because they'd taken some of the bones that had, there were magic runes etched in the bones.
Oh no, the bones.
So they took some of those bones and showed them to Orntish and Chorus, and it was like, yeah, that's necromancy. So this isn't like mindless undead. There's some kind of human force behind it. Well, Chorus seems to think it's a human because elves would never do necromancy. But humans, yeah.
Most elves wouldn't do it, right?
Well, Chorus seems to think that elves wouldn't be responsible for necromancy.
But we are highly suspicious of everyone.
What if Chorus is the culprit?
Ooh. That's some 4D chess right there. But yeah, that's everything that has transpired in the game. Really actually do kind of like how the story's kind of developed, Stickbeard. I seem to think that you lived a very peaceful life on Atoll Grove, but since moving, you've kind of made this transition from simple blacksmith to hero of the land.
Mm-hmm.
You've been there for almost every adventure of the Vagabonds of the North Shore. When people talk about the Vagabonds of the North Shore, yours is one of the names that gets mentioned, or mentioned by description. And to a lesser extent as well, Therum. It's just Therum hasn't been there for hasn't been seen as much as Stickbeard has.
Right, since Therum didn't venture out until after he had heard of Goldie's death.
Yeah, and that's also a pretty cool story arc where perhaps Therum didn't necessarily see the reason in going out there, but in Goldie's memory has steeled himself and was like, no, I got to get out there too. But I guess moving on for the next sessions, it's pretty much you guys are deep into the Nerton cycle, and this was a very big plot arc for the Hexcrawl. I don't know if you could tell. Me mentioning it in the first session didn't necessarily have to happen, but thankfully you talked to Father Cosgrove. I was thankful for that. Or not Cosgrove, Cosmos. Cosgrove is the god that he worships. Man, I just did a Sauron-Saruman thing. And I hate doing that. But yeah, Father Cosmos explained Nerton and then had you guys investigate the blight tree. So you do know that there's a big old blight tree growing out of Nerton that you have yet to see. Because every time you've tried to go to Nerton and have kind of gotten stalled to go back because the army of the undead, there's just hordes of them down there. I wouldn't
call that stalled, I'd call that repelled, but yes.
Repelled. Yeah. Also, that same Anna River Cobb's garrison, it was mentioned in passing in last episode, but Anna River Cobb's garrison has been wiped out.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, gosh.
Which is one of the River Cobb's garrisons. So they're significantly reduced in force. You guys haven't looked at the northern side of the skirmish, you guys have tried to approach through the ruins here on the northwest side. You're not sure what's going on the north, because that's the other way into Nerton. You've walked through here, you got about here, then you diverted to this forest here, and then you went back with Lady Rivercobb. But you have yet to approach from this side, so you're not sure what the fight's like there. Also, you could only assume, because Nerton's the south side, you don't know what that perimeter looks like. If things are bad in the northwest, how bad is it elsewhere?
Yeah, I assume these are lakes, right?
Yeah, those are deep lakes, and then what the light blue is floodplain, but also mostly knee-deep water, a lot of knee-deep water. You could walk across the light blue. The dark blue, you'd have to swim or boat. But one of the episodes where you were establishing the base, you do remember that over there by that river network is a giant crocodile.
Oh.
Big Pete.
Oh my god. For a split second, I'm like, giant crocodile. And then you said Big Pete, and it's like, oh fuck. Core memory.
Yep, Big Pete. You guys possibly talked about the idea of getting Big Pete to fight the Kraken.
Oh.
Did we? Okay.
No, you talked about it, but man, that would be quite the trick.
Jeez.
I'm not sure I was in the session with Big Pete.
We didn't do anything. We just heard about him. And it was like, let's put a pin in that and get back to... I don't think anybody could think of a reason to specifically go after Big Pete. And I think somebody must have suggested having Big Pete fight the Kraken as a reason to pursue Big Pete.
Yeah, that's sounding familiar.
Yeah, I don't remember much, but I do. Big Pete does ring a big bell. Ha ha ha. And I remember whatever it was. I can't remember what the decision actually was, but whatever it wasn't Big Pete was just more important overall.
The priority at the time was establishing your colony, and
Yeah.
Big Pete's clear on the other side.
Exactly. There's a level of fame and infamy that we don't need right now.
It seems like Big Pete's one of those things. He's kind of like a local legend. They know to stay out of the wilderness and you won't get eaten by Big Pete. Whereas the undead seems to be a growing problem because the barricade that was holding them in. Oh yeah, last episode they did rebuild a little bit of the Cheval de Frise, but it's basically just stacking boards and being like, okay, let's see how long this holds.
Yeah. You saying walls only work for so long?
You guys got to do something about those undead immigrants.
That's right.
Oh my god. Talking about getting too political.
Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I always considered this a left-leaning podcast.
we're all.
I know this isn't a podcast; it's a stream. But that was just the line that popped into my head.
Well, so did I.
I mean, all my Rush Limbaugh talking points.
Oh yeah,
that I always try and pepper in there.
Gotta get those skeletons to pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
Yep. But they have no boots. Well, then ankle bones. Then.
Yes.
So in future skirmishes with the undead, you guys are gonna have to be more strategic and kind of figure that. Be fighting a war with battlefields in mind, because if you just rush in, you'll get repelled.
This is decidedly going against my rush in and beat everything with an axe plan. I'm fresh out of ideas.
More of what I'm looking for is kind of like when the three of you took down all those lizards.
Yeah. I think the Leroy Jenkins approach is going to work.
You're going to have to think your way out of this one.
It was pretty amazing when Therum took down 9 lizard men with 1 pebble.
That was pretty impressive. I did like the process of you guys getting a base, because it was like I think it was the 3rd episode, Brock Half-Giant Matt was like, we should establish a base somewhere. And so talked to Vargas about it. Vargas kind of pointed out this land. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Vargas pointed out this area to you guys. But as you have found out from Colrus, you guys actually are outside of the Kingdom of Vassith, but also kind of in this weird march, which is a border. This march between the Kingdom of Vassith and the Dwarven kingdoms. As time goes on and you establish this place, that is probably going to become a bigger deal.
Being not in the borders?
Yeah, being a small country between 2 kingdoms might be an issue down the road. Think of Civ 6 and you're basically a city-state between 2 Civ players.
I hope they want to trade.
Yeah. Let's hope they just want to trade. But again, you're not necessarily having to worry about it at the moment. You guys are just kind of a campsite. You haven't really established any kind of political clout. You don't really have much in the way of resource. Well, you have all that treasure, but it's not like, you're a farming town or a mining town or anything like that. You're just a bunch of vagabonds squatting in ruins who have bought your resources from the local towns, not really leaving much of an impact. People do kind of know about you because you've done some things, burned down the Blight Tree, defeated the bandits of the Flaming Fist. Apparently you're loaded with treasure, whatever. But it's not like you have a standing army, or they might think that you guys have a lord, but you guys really haven't presented that.
I did not realize that we were playing Kingdom Maker, but here we are.
It's kind of where you guys are headed. You're kind of involving yourselves. And it did really start when Matt was like, hey, we should establish ourselves somewhere. And Lady Vargas was like, yeah, there. Establish yourselves there.
Not here. Go away.
Yeah. You're pretty sure that's one of Lady Vargas's intentions, but you're not quite sure why she pointed here of all places. She could have pointed anywhere. But you found yourself in a political web.
Oh my, such intrigue.
And as you guys establish yourselves, we'll see how that works out for you. But I think we've exhausted these topics long enough, unless you guys wanted to ask me anything about what has transpired in these past 11 episodes, clarifications on characters or NPCs. Seth, if you want to roll HP for Therum.
Yeah, I want to roll HP for Therum.
Okay.
Maybe Therum can take more than like one hit before he dies.
You roll a
What do I
D8.
roll?
3!
Ah!
Okay, well,
Well, 7 is better than 4, so
7 means you won't get one shot by a bunch of weaker enemies. You could still get one shot by a lizard man if he hit you hard enough.
true.
But you're pretty safe against a goblin or a skeleton.
Famous last words.
Right.
So the Nurten arc. I'm just trying to think, like, I guess the current problem is trying to figure out how to actually infiltrate Nurten.
Part of it is going to be thinking of it as more, you got to put on your Sun Shu Art of War hat, because it is going to be about taking positions and using guerrilla warfare. Because if you just were to have a man-for-man fight head-on, it's not going to be that effective. There just seems to be so many of the undead. And they were able to wipe out a garrison of soldiers. So if a handful of the vagabonds of the North Shore are to win, they're going to have to be clever. And part of that is understanding the choke points and stuff. You guys have reached one choke point, but there are other choke points.
Well, we have to get clever with these skeletons.
Also collecting and utilizing the information that you find. You've lost both times, but you've A, learned that necromancy is involved, and B, you have learned that the skeletons by themselves aren't actually aggressive. They get aggressive as you approach them, but if you were to leave a horde of skeletons off into the wilderness somewhere, it won't do anything.
Yeah, they don't have a will of their own.
And I'll leave you guys to meditate with that. And I just wanted to thank you all for watching. If you wanted to keep up on all Serious Industry streams, the best way to do that is to give this channel a follow. Alternatively, you can also follow us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, where we do announcements. There's also the website, shatteredempire.net. Shattered Empire is a post-apocalyptic interstellar synthwave-fueled tabletop RPG. If you go to the website right now, you can get a free alpha of the game. The free alpha has everything you need to make a character, and if you're crafty enough, you can make your own campaign. So check that out, and thanks again for watching. This is Abacus Fish, signing off.